Good evening. I'll call this meeting to order here on March 9th at 7 p.m. Mr. Kosher, would you please take attendance?
Johnson? Here. Olson?
Here.
Skelton? Here. Boss Ward is absent. Winiger?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Wonderful. Thank you. If you could please join and rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, any visitors who wish to address the board may do so. We ask that you sign in when you enter the room and please list the topic. If you have not done so, please approach the podium and do. I ask that you refrain from listing any student by name or any personnel by name. Is there anyone who would like to address the board? As a reminder, no action will be taken this evening. Seeing none, we would move on to Tanager happenings. Becky Sanderson. Good evening.
Hello.
In the daylight. We're excited.
Yes. So I just want to talk a little bit about summer school. We are looking at starting summer school at the middle school. We haven't had that in a while. It sounds like that has been something that teachers have been asking for, just to have a little level of accountability with kiddos that are either not coming to school, not passing classes. And the other thing that we're seeing with it is that kids are moving on grade level to grade level. Maybe they're not passing the classes in 6th grade and we move them on to 7th grade, and then that makes 7th grade that much harder. And then we move them on to 8th grade and that makes 8th grade that much harder. And then we send them on to high school where it really counts, according to them. Middle school doesn't count. It does, because that is where you're learning all of those foundational skills in order to get to the classes that you have to take in high school that then do start counting on transcripts and college applications and that kind of stuff. So what we've kind of been looking into doing, what I'm hoping to do, is just give a short, like 1 month session of summer school where we get a chance to get some of these kiddos that haven't been at school, that maybe are failing some of these classes, give them that opportunity to make up that time, build those skills that they are lacking so that they have a better chance to be successful in the next grade level and moving forward, because that is ultimately what we want, is we want to send kids on into high school ready to go. So this is in the early stages, but what I'm kind of looking at right here is during the month of June, we'll use Ingenuity, which is a program that we already have. It has lessons built in. We can pick and choose within the program which specific lessons get taught, and so they get a chance to watch some videos for learning, do some practice tests, and then they have tests that they take at the end of each unit to assess their skills there. So that would help get them through making sure that they are learning and getting those skills that they need. We would have certified or classified staff running the summer school. Ideally, we have different staff that have different strengths, so that we might have some days where we have math strengths and some days we have more of language arts. And so that as they're going through these classes, if they have questions on math, then when that math strong person comes in, they can say, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Can you help explain this to me? Because this just isn't making sense. And then same thing with language arts. It just kind of helps build those skills, and again makes it about acquiring skills, not just a tedious thing that we're having them do. What we're looking at as far as how a child will be identified for summer school, we're looking at attendance. That's kind of been our focus as a district this year, is attendance matters. And so using that as a framework, any child that misses 20 days or more would be a candidate. Not saying that that'd be a guarantee, because there are some kids that have missed that many days for very valid reasons. And so we don't want to say that that's going to be the end all be all, but that is a pattern that we tend to see, is kids that miss high numbers of days also tend to be kids that are failing classes. And so if we get those that are doing both, where they're missing a lot and failing classes, if we can start getting them caught up and moving them, I think that'll be a big step in the right direction, and we can just kind of build on it from there. If a kid is assigned this and doesn't come, that would be something where we would talk about having them be a candidate then for either retaking that grade level class. So if they failed 6th grade math, Maybe that's the only class that they failed and they didn't put in forth any work. And so maybe we move them on to 7th grade, but when it gets to that math class time, they really need 6th grade math. And so we put them in a 6th grade math class. If they are failing lots of classes, then we have that conversation with the kids, the parents, the teams, superintendent, about, is this a kid then that we want to retain in grade level? Ideally, that is not what we want for most of these cases. But again, we want the kids to be successful. And if they're not getting those skills, moving on to a grade where they don't have the skills makes it really hard. So we're trying to get the most success for these kiddos. We're identifying those kiddos now, and I'm running reports, and I can run reports for kids that are failing classes. I can run reports for kids that are missing however many days that I want. If I were to run the reports right now for kids that are missing 20 days, that gives me a list of 34 kids. When I take off the kids that are no longer in our district or for other reasons maybe wouldn't be eligible, we're down to like 19, which isn't an extraordinary large number of kiddos. But if we can help 19 kids build up those skills and feel more successful going into the year, I think they'll have a much better year. So that's the goal behind it. And then now it's get the details figured out with the teachers, find people that want to do it, and identify those kiddos and have those parents contacts with them, and let them know that, hey, this is something we want for your kiddo because we think that it would be beneficial for them. So that's what I have. Do you have any questions?
I've got just a couple points to add to that. One would be, we will really get more details for the board and have more formal presentation with some of the details. So I'd encourage you to send us any questions you would want answered, or that way when Becky and I are working with staff, we can get those answered to make sure the plan is as solid as it can be coming in next month. The beauty about this time of year is we've had some small conversations with families about their attendance throughout the quarter, this quarter as well as last semester. This gives an opportunity for somebody who's maybe on the wrong path right now for the next 10 weeks of school to really buckle down and improve, and they may not be a candidate then. In other words, right now they've missed a bunch of days, they're unexcused, their grades are not reflecting well. Well, maybe after a conversation with the principal and some parents and things, that all of a sudden this kid says, I need to buckle down a little bit, and their attendance gets better and their skills develop. And I think that's the nice thing about this is right now kids will get the message that you still have time to recover, and we see a positive trend before the end of the year, then we're not going to consider you for this. But the flip side is also true, which is if we don't see improvement and we see kids with failing skills, then we would have this as an option. There's really three things that I like about this. Well, there's a lot of things I like about it, but three main ones is our staff have been asking about this at the middle school for a long time, is what can we do to get kids more prepared. Some of our kiddos are failing multiple subjects. We're getting them onto the next grade level. They're dragging behind their peers in the next grade level. That impacts the ability for themselves to progress, but it also impacts the ability of the entire grade or the class to progress because we're spending a lot of time with reteaching. Second thing is ultimately it's about reteaching skills that kids might have missed and getting them the opportunity to have that happen during the summer at their own pace, and get them ready for the next grade level is the ultimate goal here. And then third thing is in an ideal world, we'll see a student that comes here and gets the needed skills, and we see a transformation in them the next school year. Both their attendance, their attitude, their engagement in school might just be altered a little bit, where they suddenly enjoy the school experience, and it just maybe gets contagious with them, their families, with their friends, and suddenly we've been the thing that we've done something that changes the trajectory of these students. So I think this has a lot of upside for those reasons, and we look forward to producing more, information for next meeting.
Ultimately, we're trying to get them off of this wheel where they don't come to school because they don't know the material very well. And so they don't know the material very well because they're not coming to school, and they're just on this big cycle. We just got to get them off of that wheel and just get a new path for them.
Yep.
And sometimes that takes some strong efforts. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Anderson.
Enjoy the concert as well. All right, we'll move on here to our agenda and conflict disclosures. So item A, are there any agenda changes, Dr. Elvey?
No, they're not.
Wonderful. So hearing that, I would take a motion to approve the agenda. First by Mark, second by Ryan.
Ryan.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Next up here, we have item B, indication of conflict of interest per South Dakota Codified Law 3-23. This is Rachel, and I have none.
This is Jake, and I have none.
Mark, and I have none.
This is Ryan, and I have none.
Wonderful, thank you. Moving on to our consent agenda. This evening, we have approval of our minutes, resignations, new hires, open enrollments, and bills. First up, we have our meeting minutes from January 9th. Resignations, John Schloss, chemistry, Jean Hansen, junior kindergarten. And I do want to take a moment to thank her for her 36 years of teaching within the district. I don't know all the different positions she's had, but I'm sure there's been many, but most recently, a wonderful junior kindergarten teacher. So thank you, Jean, for that. Caleb Wisman, behavior room, Tracy Larson, administrative assistant, Todd Steffen, special education, Anna Olson, sped aid, Gary Culver, head wrestling coach, and then new hires, Lucas Edwards, project skill mentor. Would anything like to be pulled from the consent agenda this evening? Seeing none, I would take a motion to approve.
So moved.
First by Jake. Who was
Mark.
that? Mark? Okay. Second by, oh, you three males are hard for me to keep track. So, thank you, Mark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. I need Carol here. We are in need of no unfinished business this evening, so we'll be moving on to new business. Item A is approval of surplus items.
This time of year you'll see a lot of surplus things throughout this time of year in the summer, but at this point, Mrs. Jacobs has surplused some Dell Chromebooks and some Lenovo Chromebooks Generation 3 at zero value. We'll either recycle or try to get some dollars for those, but those are our surplus items this evening.
Any questions on those? All right, we can probably take a motion for the surplus items.
So moved.
First by Jake, second by Mark. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Next up here, item B, we have set our first negotiations meeting date and time.
This is just a formality at this point. We've already held the first meeting with our Vermillion Education Association. That was this afternoon after school. We've already scheduled the next 2 weeks worth of meetings with the certified staff, and then classified will follow. Once the legislative session is complete in this week, we'll be able to get going at a little faster pace.
Wonderful, thank you. Next up here then, we have our reports. Mr. Elvey, if you'd like to continue.
Absolutely. We would like to take just a second. This time of the year, one of the neat things in our district is our opportunity to recognize colleagues in our buildings for their outstanding work. And we have students, parents, and teachers who are eligible to nominate an employee of the year, like a teacher of the year or a classified employee of the year. And as usual, we had great submissions, and all those submissions always remind us of the great things that are happening. You see it once in a while when I'm in the building or other administrators talk about it, but when your colleagues write about it, it reinforces the fact that there's some really special things happening in our buildings, and colleagues notice it, or parents notice it, or students notice it. So at the elementary school, our two honorees, our classified employee of the year was Liz Franken, who does library at the elementary school. And our teacher of the year was Gina Marzola, who's an elementary counselor at the elementary school. Our middle school classified employee of the year was Charlotte Krell. Charlotte kind of has a dual role for us. She does classified work, and she also does teaching certified work. So she was a nominee for the classified award. And our teacher of the year was Erin Fader, who teaches social studies at the middle school. And our high school classified employee of the year was Ashley Steenick, who is the high school administrative assistant. And our teacher of the year was John Schloss, who was our chemistry teacher. And at the end of this process, after the nominations are given to the principals compile all of those data, and then we bring a member of the school board and the administrative team together to basically talk through all of those nominees and talk about who ends up winning all of those distinctions. But if the part of that committee's job is to pick the district teacher of the year. So from all of those great nominations, Aaron Fader, middle school social studies teacher, was honored as our district teacher of the year. So they will all receive plaques at the end of the year celebration in May. So congratulations to those folks. Our state assessment time is upon us. If you're visiting our buildings, you'll notice that our teachers are preparing for our assessments. And so this is a good time to remind our parents that, extra rest, more time, to get some much needed rest and relaxation for the kids. Good breakfasts in the morning before school are all helpful things for our test assessments. The Smarter Balance is the statewide assessment for grades 3 through 8 this year, and those classes will all basically be taking them the month of April. Our grade 11, for the first time, will be taking a state assessment, will be the ACT, the national exam that most of our juniors and seniors take to get into college. This is South Dakota's first year of doing the ACT as an assessment of high school standards. So we'll learn a lot from this first assessment. One is how well does it align with current South Dakota standards, and two, the fact that we're requiring all juniors to take them within the school day versus a voluntary test that students that would take for admissions into college, how does that have an impact on perhaps the engagement in the test? But that test will be taken on March 17th. And as part of that assessment day at the high school only, the ACT requires that there's no, just like when you took it, if you took it as a high schooler, you are in a sterile environment. You can't bring water or treats in. You're in a place that has no bells going off. There's no activity in the building, if you remember those days. Well, we have to provide that same environment at our high school that day. So we will be asking our freshmen, our sophomores, and our seniors to have a remote learning day that day. What it will basically entail is juniors will report for the test and have the whole academic wing to themselves quietly without the bells there. We'll be providing breakfast and lunch for them, and they'll have their 5 sub-tests that they will complete during the mandated time allowed. In the meantime, we will use the commons area of the high school for a remedial time for any student who wants help or is getting a D or an F in a class at the high school level. That would be any freshman, sophomore, or senior. Those folks would be required to come to a remedial tutoring period for 2.5 hours. It can be a come and go. If they get their work done in that time, they can go. But those folks will be asked to come in and get that extra time dedicated in a quiet environment to get the help they need for their last 8 weeks of school. Students that don't fall into that will be asked to complete an assignment online that will be pre-designated by their teachers, sent out through their Google Classroom, which they all currently use. And it will be things such as, it'll be no new academic material. In other words, a teacher won't introduce a new concept through that day and expect the students to bring it back and have it perfected. It will be a remedial day where perhaps you have to search out a new topic in the news, and how does that relate to a class that I'm taking? Maybe it's a science class, maybe it's an English course. So it'll be something that will use previously earned skills and ask them to reflect on their learning and what they're doing in high school and how those two might be working together. So it will be a rather, really for the 9th grade, 10th grade, and the seniors, it'll look much different, but there will be some good things that they can still capture from that day. Mrs. Sanderson did already mention our attendance matters campaign that's been going on this school year. Some of you that have seen these messages, we send messages home through our Parent Square or through personal emails. We've increased our rewards and incentive programs for good attendance at the schools. We've done lawn signs and messaging of important attendance data on our big board at the high school or the boards outside the school buildings. We've done parent letters. We've increased our meetings with parents and students about their attendance concerns. And we have an automatic call system that does call home when there's an absence of a student in case mom and dad are unaware that the absence is happening. And so all of our enforcement and our efforts have been really to shine a light on attendance and the correlation between good attendance and better engagement in school. and likely better outcomes for students. So we've worked with that this year, and we'll have some supporting information next meeting. But the middle school summer school experience is just another step to help promote that, which you heard here earlier. Last couple things here, our parent-teacher conferences were held 2 weeks ago. We did not have our Friday parent-teacher conference because we used that day for a staff in-service, half day. And we really did receive a pretty good response. We had 81% attendance at the elementary school, pretty standard for our spring attendance. That's down, about 10% from the fall, which is pretty normal for us. The middle school, we had about a 39% attendance rate and less than 50% at the high school. But I don't think that any of that was due to the fact that we weren't available on Friday. Our staff was made available Thursday, and of course, any time else that the mothers or fathers in the district wanted to talk. So it was pretty much standard for our spring attendance, regardless that we missed the Friday day. And then finally, of course, this week we do have our spring break starting with no school. We get out early on Wednesday and no school Thursday, Friday. And then, of course, getting into next month, we do have our Easter break with an early dismissal on April 2nd and no school on the 3rd or the 6th of April for Easter break. So that's what we have going on.
Nice weather.
Very nice weather.
All right, thank you. Next up, we'll move on to school board reports. Does anybody have any committee updates? Is the microphone on?
The building committee met this month, and we've got some work ahead of us. We need to do some work on the middle school roof, which, should I mention, I won't mention the costs. The high school parking lot is in pretty bad shape, and that looks to be a 2-year project. We need a new vehicle for activities, and that will free up another van, 14-passenger minibus, actually, for the preschool program. The walkway to the auxiliary gym is something we'd like to do. This is so that when people come in and want to see the JV game, they don't have to walk through the varsity game. And it's a safety feature. And finally, the vestibule, the entranceway into the middle school. If you've ever gone there, you have to press a button, and hopefully someone is there, will unlock the door for you. And what we want to do is change that so that you can come in, but there'll be another locked door. So you'll be able to get out of the weather. And that's about it, isn't it?
All right, and the Vermillion Public Schools Foundation met in February. I have a few items from there. First, I'm glad Dr. Alvey mentioned the ACTs and the importance of a good breakfast. VPSF received a request for some funds to provide breakfast burritos. I think they would be catered by Hy-Vee, and we are funding that, actually splitting the cost with Feeding Vermillion, so splitting that 50-50. So they will be getting their breakfast burritos on the 17th. Also had a request for some funding from the Educators Rising Group, and I just wanted to tout this group of students. There were 5, I believe they're all seniors, 5 who were either national qualifiers or received a gold rating, and those were Madeline Eisenbeis, Katie Neighbor, Hayden Praster, Reese Williams, and Ruby Wilson. And for that state competition, they all had various projects that they worked on. And Ruby Wilson's was actually a children's book that she wrote and was, published and bound. We actually had a copy at the meeting. I was hoping to bring one here, and I was not able to get my hands on one in time. But we had that, and the VPSF also voted to purchase 5 copies of her book. And then really the other things were just wanting to get the word out about their scholarships. VPSF offers scholarships, and the number of applicants is usually surprisingly low. So just tell your friends there are scholarships out there to be had. Just apply and you will be considered. And also, the BPSF is looking for new board members. So if anyone is interested, as long as you're not an employee of the school, I believe you're eligible. So out on vermillionpsf.org, there's a contact us link. You can submit a little thing or just get a hold of a board member or myself, and we'll be happy to hook you up. But they said I'm not even sure, they've got several seats open, so the more the merrier.
I say our ICAP group met as well, which is like the city, the county, the school, USD, and the chamber. We are reworking on our kind of 5-year plan for buildings and improvements around the community. And it's interesting when you look back at the last plan, everything really that's been accomplished minus the community center. So things that were in this plan that have been completed, our school administrative office, alt school, a new elementary school is in there, our downtown streetscape, which has been completed, a bike master plan, I think that's sort of city-ish, right? Health sciences building on campus, the indoor pool at the wellness center addition, elementary school, as I mentioned, public safety center. So really great things, minus the community center. So right now, all the entities are working on what their next 5-year big projects are be. We'll get that updated and see if we can make some final things on the community center. So good to see.
And the only thing that I had was the negotiations. We basically met and set our future dates.
All right, thank you, everyone. We'll be moving on here then to our financial reports. Item A, which is our funds. Mr. Kosher.
Yeah, financial report in your packet again this month. Don't really have a whole lot to highlight, but I would take any questions you might have. Did want to mention that you have your audit report from the FY25 audit there in front of you. So any questions on that as you're able to take a look through it, just let me know.
I do see here, Ryan, the Educated Rising, I think have about $300 in their account, and since it made it to nationals, I know they're doing some fundraisers. I think they're doing an Easter egg drop here for Easter, a great fundraiser to help that crew going to their nationals, which is in Portland?
I believe so.
In June. So they could use some more dollars in that fund account. But any other questions for the funds? Then I'll take a motion to approve. We'll do first by Ryan, second by Mark. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Both same sign, motion passes. Are we in need of any future agenda items for April? All right, seeing none here, we do have our next meeting here on April 13th, followed by May 11th. We are in need of executive session tonight for South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2-4. So I would take a motion to enter an executive session here at 7:27.
So moved.
First by Jake. Second by Mark. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We are now in executive session. Thank you.